Welcome back to our workshop. Today we'll be crafting a woman's leather belt with engraved footark runes. This ancient Norse alphabet will give our belt a mystical and historical character that's perfect for those who appreciate traditional craftsmanship. For this project, I chose to use 4mm Vegtan leather. It's thick and durable, and also very easy to use for engraving. Vegetable tanned leather is ideal because it holds crisp details when carved and develops a beautiful patina over time. Before we begin, make sure your workspace is well lit and you have all your tools within reach. Take your leather piece and place it on a flat, stable surface. Using a sharp pencil or a scratch awl, begin marking a guideline along the edge of the belt. Measure ½ centimeter in from the edge and carefully draw a line that runs the full length of the leather. A ruler or metal straight edge is essential here to keep the line perfectly straight and parallel with the edge. Any deviation at this stage will be noticeable once the letters are stamped. These guidelines will serve as your reference points for placing the alphabet evenly, ensuring that each character follows a consistent path and doesn't drift up or down along the belt. This small detail is what separates a professional finish from an uneven, rushed look. Work slowly and check your measurements as you go. If necessary, lightly mark both edges of the belt at intervals of a few centimeters before connecting them with your ruler. This will help guarantee your line stays true from start to finish. Remember, precision in this step sets the foundation for the entire design. A few extra minutes spent now will save you from frustration later and will elevate the overall quality of your finished belt. The next step is to carefully divide the belt into equal sections so the alphabet will sit neatly and evenly along its length. Begin by measuring the total length of your belt, then determine how many characters, or runes, you plan to stamp. Use these measurements to calculate the spacing, ensuring that each letter has the same amount of room to rest in its own section. Once you've mapped this out, add an additional 1 centimeter of spacing between each letter. This margin is not just decorative, it plays a crucial role in readability and balance. Without proper spacing, the runes may look cramped or uneven, which can break the natural flow of the design. With the right spacing, however, each rune has enough breathing room to stand out individually, while still contributing to the overall rhythm and unity of the inscription. Take your time with this step. Mark the spacing lightly with a pencil or scratch awl so you can adjust if needed before committing with your stamps. It may seem meticulous, but this extra care will make your final design look deliberate, harmonious, and professional. Using a ruler and a sharp pencil, I carefully drew guiding lines both above and below the previously traced center line. These parallel lines act as boundaries, creating a clear channel where the runes will be placed. When making these marks, begin lightly. There's no need to press hard at this stage. Faint guidelines are easier to adjust or erase if you need corrections, and you can always darken them later once you're certain of the placement. Before you begin stamping, it's essential to plan your layout by counting the runes you intend to use. The Elder Futhark alphabet contains 24 runes in total. If you're planning to include the complete sequence, measure carefully to ensure the belt has enough length to accommodate them all with proper spacing. If the belt is shorter, you may need to adjust by either reducing the size of each rune slightly or by selecting only the most meaningful runes to feature, rather than forcing all 24 into a cramped space. This planning stage is absolutely critical. Taking the time now to check your spacing and rune count prevents mistakes later. Mistakes that are difficult, if not impossible, to correct once the leather is stamped. Think of this step as drafting your blueprint. It ensures your final piece will look intentional, balanced, and visually pleasing. When measuring, remember to account for the buckle area and the pointed tip. You'll want to leave about 8 to 10 centimeters clear at the buckle end and 5 to 6 centimeters for the pointed tip. This ensures your design doesn't get cut off or interfered with by hardware. Double-check your measurements before proceeding. It's much easier to adjust spacing now than after you've started carving. Use a flexible measuring tape to account for any slight curves in your leather strip. Once your grid is ready, take your pencil and begin sketching each rune carefully into the center of its designated square. Aim to align them precisely so every rune sits balanced within its section. This ensures that when you later stamp or carve them, the final result will look clean, organized, and professional. For this demonstration, I chose to draw the Elder Futhark runes in order, starting from the first and continuing all the way through. However, I deliberately left some extra space at the end of the belt where it will connect to the buckle. This blank area provides room for stitching or fastening without disturbing the flow of the runic sequence. As you draw, remember that each rune is more than just a symbol. It carries meaning and power deeply rooted in Norse tradition. For example, Fehu represents wealth, prosperity, and abundance, while Othala symbolizes heritage, ancestry, and the concept of homeland. Every rune embodies a unique aspect of life, making the belt not only decorative, but also a piece infused with intention and cultural significance. Take your time during this stage. Think of it as a meditative process. As you inscribe each rune, you are not just arranging letters, but weaving a story and channeling the spirit of the ancient symbols into your design. If you're not familiar with rune shapes, I recommend practicing on scrap leather first. Each symbol should be clear and recognizable. Remember that these aren't just decorative elements, they're an ancient writing system with deep cultural significance. Each rune is far more than just a letter. In Norse tradition, they are symbols of cosmic power, intention, and meaning. Here's a brief overview of each rune and its significance. Isfehu, wealth, prosperity, abundance, success in material matters. Unde wan, uruz, strength, vitality, primal energy, resilience. Thurisaz, protection, defense, challenges, raw power. Ansuz, wisdom, divine inspiration, communication, the gods. Rido, journey, movement, travel, personal growth. Kaunan Kenez, torch, knowledge, learning, illumination. Gibo, gift, partnership, balance and exchange, generosity. Wonjo, joy, harmony, fulfillment, fellowship. Hagalaz, disruption, storm, trials, transformation. Naudas, nauthis, need, hardship, constraint, endurance. Isaz, Issa, ice, stillness, clarity, patience. Jera, harvest, cycles, reward for effort, natural timing. Awaz, Utri, endurance, death and rebirth, transition. Pertho, Perthro, mystery, fate, hidden, knowledge, chance. Algies, protection, defense, spiritual guardianship. Sowilo, sun, victory, guidance, success, enlightenment. Tiwaz, two, justice, honor, leadership, sacrifice. Burkano, Burkana, growth, fertility, new beginnings, nurturing. Awaz, horse, trust, movement, partnership, teamwork. Manaz, humanity, self-awareness, community, cooperation. Lagas, water flow, intuition, dreams, the unconscious. Ingwaz, ing, fertility, stored energy, new creation, family. Dagas, daylight, breakthrough, clarity, transformation. Othala, ancestry, heritage, homeland, sacred tradition. By incorporating these runes into your design, you're not only creating a beautiful piece of craftsmanship, you're also honoring an ancient tradition where writing and magic were deeply intertwined. Each rune can be seen as both a letter and a symbol of energy, making your belt a powerful object that reflects both artistry and meaning. Now it's time for the engraving stage, the step that truly brings your design to life. Take your engraving tool and position the belt securely on your work surface so it won't shift as you work. Begin engraving each rune slowly and deliberately, following the pencil outlines you've drawn. If you are new to engraving, don't rush into it. There are plenty of excellent YouTube tutorials that can show you different grips, pressure techniques, and beginner-friendly tips. Always start with light passes first rather than pressing down hard. Think of these initial cuts as sketching into the leather. Once the shape is defined, you can gradually deepen the grooves with additional passes. This approach gives you more control over the tool and reduces the risk of slips or uneven lines. Remember, deep cuts can't be undone, but shallow ones can always be built upon. As you progress, make sure to keep your swivel knife sharp and maintain a consistent cutting angle. A sharp blade glides smoothly through the leather, producing clean, crisp lines, while a dull blade tends to drag or tear the surface. Sharpening regularly is part of the craft. It's not just about convenience, but about ensuring the best possible finish. The beauty of hand engraving lies in the human touch. Don't aim for cold, machine-like perfection. Instead, embrace the natural flow of the leather and your own hand. Tiny variations in depth and angle add warmth, character, and authenticity to the piece. These subtle irregularities are what transform a belt from being just a functional accessory into a one-of-a-kind artifact infused with personality and story. Take your time, breathe steadily, and move with intention. The engraving stage is not just about technique, it's about connection. Every cut is a conversation between you, the leather, and the timeless symbols of the runes. When engraving, it's best to work systematically, from one end of the belt to the other, completing each rune fully before moving on to the next. This method ensures that your cuts remain consistent in depth, style, and flow, rather than jumping back and forth and risking uneven results. Treat each rune as its own project. Give it the focus and patience it deserves before continuing down the line. Remember to listen to your hand as much as your tool. Engraving requires steady control, and fatigue can quickly lead to slips, jagged cuts, or uneven pressure. If your hand begins to feel tense or shaky, take a short break, stretch your fingers, and return with fresh precision. A belt made with care will always look better than one rushed in frustration. When you want to create deeper cuts, resist the temptation to press hard in a single stroke. Instead, make multiple light passes over the same line, gradually deepening the groove with each pass. This technique gives you greater control and produces clean, sharp lines while reducing the risk of tearing the leather's surface. By layering your cuts this way, the blade slices rather than forces its way through the material, keeping the leather smooth and preventing bunching or unwanted ridges around the edges. Think of it like carving into wood. You build depth slowly, respecting both the material and the design. Patience at this stage is the key to a professional finish. Deep cuts made carefully will look confident and deliberate, while rushed cuts made too quickly can appear rough and unbalanced. Let the blade do the work and guide it gently rune by rune. For the coloring stage, I decided to use an alcohol-based green dye to create a vintage forest-like finish. This earthy shade harmonizes beautifully with the runes, enhancing their mystical character while grounding the design in the natural world. Green has long been associated with growth, renewal, and balance, making it an ideal companion for symbols that embody power, wisdom, and ancestral connection. In many traditions, including Norse beliefs, nature was seen as alive with spirit and energy. so a green finish transforms the belt into something that feels both ancient and alive. Alcohol dyes are especially effective for projects like this because they penetrate deeply into the leather fibers, giving a rich tone while still allowing the natural grain of the leather to show through. The result is a finish that looks aged and organic, rather than flat or artificial. To apply the dye, take a clean sponge or dauber and begin tapping the surface gently, working in light, controlled motions. Avoid dragging the sponge, as this can create streaks. Tapping gives a more natural, even spread. Build the color gradually in thin, even coats rather than trying to achieve full coverage all at once. This layering approach allows you to control the depth of the color and even create subtle variations that mimic the textures of wood or moss. Because alcohol-based dyes dry quickly, it's important to work efficiently and avoid going over the same spot too many times once it's begun to set. If you linger in one area, you may end up with lap marks or darker blotches. Instead, apply a consistent rhythm of taps across the belt, let the first layer settle, and then return with additional coats until you achieve the richness and tone you want. Take a moment to step back and look at the overall piece after each coat. The dyeing stage isn't just about adding color, it's about enhancing the story of the runes with a finish that feels intentional and alive. Once the dye has dried, the next step is to bevel the edges of the belt. This process not only adds durability, but also elevates the overall look of the piece. Using a beveler tool, carefully shave away the sharp corners along the edges of the leather. For this project, I used a number 4 beveler, which is well suited for a thicker belt. Beveling helps protect the leather from cracking, fraying, or catching during daily wear, and it gives the piece a clean, rounded edge that immediately looks more refined and professional. Start at one end of the belt and work steadily toward the other, maintaining consistent pressure on the tool. Try to keep your movement smooth and continuous. Hesitation or uneven pressure can create dips and irregular lines. The goal is a clean, uniform bevel that looks intentional. You'll notice how quickly this step transforms the appearance of your belt. What once looked handmade now begins to resemble a professionally crafted accessory. At this point, you can decide how you want the edges to appear. One option is to apply edge paint, which seals the leather and creates a smooth, polished border that resists both moisture and wear. Painted edges give a sleek, contemporary look and can either match your dye color or contrast for a more striking effect. Alternatively, you may prefer to leave the edges natural. In that case, you can still achieve a clean, finished appearance by burnishing, a process of rubbing the edges until they become smooth and glossy. Even without added color, burnished edges look neat and feel pleasant to the touch, while still offering protection against fraying. If you choose to paint the edges, always work in thin, even coats. Apply the first coat, allow it to dry fully, then sand it lightly with fine grit sandpaper before applying the next. This layering technique ensures that the surface stays smooth and professional. Multiple thin coats will always look better and last longer than a single thick application, which tends to crack or peel over time. Take your time with edge finishing. It's often these subtle details that determine whether a belt looks like a simple DIY project or a piece worthy of a craftsman's signature. Next, we prepare the buckle end of the belt. Take the tip of your knife and carefully skive the leather. This means thinning the section where the belt will fold over the buckle bar. By reducing the thickness here, you prevent excess bulk, which would otherwise make the fold look clumsy or uncomfortable when worn. Work slowly with smooth, controlled strokes, shaving thin layers at a time. The goal is a gradual taper, not a sudden step, so the fold sits flush and natural once the buckle is attached. Avoid digging too deep, as gouges can weaken the leather. Once the skiving is complete, turn your attention to the edges. Apply a small amount of Tokonole, a traditional Japanese edge finishing compound known for its ability to create perfectly smooth, glass-like edges. Using a burnisher tool, rub firmly along the edges with steady pressure and consistent speed. The combination of friction and Tokonole compacts the fibers, sealing them into a glossy, durable finish. This step not only improves the belt's appearance, but also enhances its longevity, as well-burnished edges resist fraying and moisture. With the edges polished, it's time to prepare the buckle. Take your rotary punch set and punch a clean hole for the buckle pin. Select a punch size that matches the diameter of your buckle's pin as closely as possible. A snug fit is essential to keep the buckle secure and prevent unwanted shifting during wear. Position the punch precisely in line with the belt's center, then apply firm, even pressure to cut through the leather in one clean motion. A well-punched hole ensures the buckle functions smoothly and adds to the belt's overall professional look. Since I didn't have every specialized tool at hand, I had to improvise a little. After punching the initial hole, I carefully adjusted it with a cutter to match the size I needed. Once shaped, I painted and beveled the opening before finishing it with Tokonole burnishing to ensure smooth, sealed edges. This is a great reminder that leathercraft isn't only about having the perfect set of tools. It's about technique, patience, and creativity. Even with limited equipment, you can still achieve a clean, professional finish if you take your time and work carefully. When enlarging or adjusting holes, always work slowly and test fit frequently with your buckle. Remove only a small amount of material at a time, checking after each adjustment. It's far easier to make a hole slightly larger than to repair one that's been cut too wide. Precision here ensures that the buckle pin will fit snugly, function smoothly, and remain durable over years of use. Once the hole is ready, it's time to attach the buckle permanently. Fold the skived end of the belt over the buckle bar and secure it with 2 rivets. Rivets are excellent for this purpose. They create a strong, lasting connection that can withstand years of wear without loosening. Place the rivets evenly along the fold, leaving enough distance from the belt's edge so the leather doesn't tear under stress. Properly set rivets not only hold the buckle in place, but also add to the overall strength and craftsmanship of your belt. Use your rotary punch set to punch 2 clean holes through both layers of the folded leather where the rivets will sit. Before punching, carefully mark the rivet positions with a ruler and awl. Alignment is critical here. Once the holes are punched, there's no way to undo them. After punching, insert the rivets, set them firmly, and check that the fold sits flat and secure around the buckle. This step locks everything in place, giving your belt both durability and a professional, finished look. When setting rivets, always work on a solid, stable surface. A granite slab, steel block, or even a heavy anvil works well. Hold the rivet setter firmly in place and strike with a hammer using controlled, confident blows. The goal is to spread the rivet shaft evenly so it locks tight without striking so hard that you flatten the cap or bruise the surrounding leather. Take your time. Properly set rivets should feel flush, strong, and smooth to the touch. Next, cut a small strip of leather to create the keeper loop, also known as the stopper. This little piece might seem minor, but it plays a crucial role in the functionality of your belt. The keeper loop is what holds down the loose end after the buckle, keeping it tidy and secure instead of letting it flap around. When sizing the loop, make sure it slides along the belt easily while still gripping firmly enough to keep the strap under control. A well-fitted keeper adds both practicality and polish. Once you've adjusted the keeper to the perfect size, finish it with the same care as the rest of the belt. Bevel, paint, and burnish the edges so it matches the overall craftsmanship. Even small details deserve attention. When the keeper looks as clean and professional as the main belt, it elevates the entire piece. These finishing touches are what separate a quick DIY project from a piece of work that looks professional, intentional, and built to last. With the keeper prepared, use your rotary punch set to make adjustment holes along the belt according to your hip or waist size. Space them evenly, typically about 1 inch apart so the belt is versatile and comfortable to wear. At this stage, you can also attach the keeper loop by securing it to the belt body. If you prefer strength and simplicity, use a rivet for a permanent hold. If you have the tools and skill, hand stitching the keeper gives a more refined, traditional finish that many craftsmen favor. Both methods are valid. The choice depends on the look and durability you want for the finished piece. Now let's shape the opposite end of the belt, the part that threads through the buckle and belt loops. Using a sharp cutter and a ruler, mark your design. You can finish the tip in a triangle, semicircle, or even a more decorative shape depending on your style. For this piece, I also chose to taper the width slightly, trimming about 1/2 centimeter from each edge near the end. This not only makes it easier for the belt to slide through the buckle, but also adds a touch of design flair, creating a sleek, professional look. pointed or rounded end isn't just about appearance. It also serves a practical purpose. A shaped tip glides smoothly through pant loops and the buckle without catching or fraying the leather. Think of it as both functional and decorative. Choose a shape that complements the runes and the overall theme of your design, whether sharp and angular for a bold look or gently rounded for a softer, classic style. When tapering the sides or shaping the tip, symmetry is crucial. Take careful measurements and mark your guidelines before cutting. This ensures both sides mirror each other perfectly. When it's time to cut, use smooth, confident strokes rather than hesitant, choppy ones. A clean cut shows craftsmanship, while uneven cuts can stand out immediately on a finished piece. Remember, measure twice, cut once. If you plan on making multiple belts, or if you want absolute precision, create a cardboard or acrylic template for your chosen tip shape. This guarantees consistent curves, angles, and proportions every time, saving you from measuring repeatedly and helping maintain a professional standard across your work. Templates are especially useful if you want to offer belts for sale or replicate a signature design. Once the tip has been shaped, move on to edge finishing. Bevel the edges to round them off, then paint them if you want a sealed colored finish. After painting, or if you prefer the natural look, apply Tokonole and burnish thoroughly with steady pressure. This step is particularly important at the belt's tip, since this area experiences the most wear, sliding through loops, rubbing against the buckle, and being handled constantly. Proper beveling, painting, and burnishing will keep the edges smooth, durable, and resistant to fraying, ensuring your belt remains beautiful and functional for years to come. Before we finish, make sure to burnish all the edges one last time. This final pass ensures every edge is smooth, sealed, and consistent with the rest of the belt. Take your time here. Beautifully burnished edges are one of the clearest hallmarks of quality leatherwork. As you burnish, remember that the friction compresses the leather fibers, sealing them tightly together. The result is a surface that is not only visually polished and shiny, but also durable and resistant to wear. It's this blend of beauty and function that makes handcrafted leather so special. And there it is, your belt is ready. What you've created today is more than just a strap of leather. It's a unique piece of art that blends the ancient power of runic symbolism with the timeless tradition of leathercraft. Every rune, every stroke of dye, every edge you shape tells the story of the time, patience, and care you invested. With proper care, occasional conditioning to keep the leather supple, and avoiding excessive moisture, this belt will only get better. Over the years, it will develop a rich patina, a natural glow that speaks of age and experience. Thank you so much for joining me in this workshop. I hope this project has inspired you to not only explore more traditional leatherworking techniques, but also to connect deeper with the rich history and mystery of the runic alphabets. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and most importantly, keep crafting.